about second breakfast?
Time for second breakfast.
What's up, everybody? Monster from Breakdowns for Breakfast here with another second breakfast. I went and saw Jiluka. If you remember, a couple weeks ago, we did an episode on the band Sim. And then a couple days later, I did a second breakfast about a style of music or genre of style, I don't know exactly what you call it, called Visual Kei, Japanese rock bands that wear really extravagant costumes and everything. And in that second breakfast, I brought up the band Jiluka. Jiluka is currently on tour right now, and they played in Greensboro, North Carolina, Hangar 1819. It keeps coming up. And I got to go. I was sort of on the fence about going, and I won't say it was a last-minute decision, but it was sort of like a few days before. I was like, all right, I guess, I can swing it. Went by myself. I just... I don't have a ton of friends that would be into it. I asked a couple people that like to go to shows as well, and just didn't work out. So I was by myself, no big deal, and it was a pretty cool show. So a couple things about it that I appreciate was there were 3 bands, and it said on the ticket, doors at 6:30, show at 7:30. This is a Tuesday night. And I was like, okay, that sounds about right. And my biggest fear was that, okay, if I get there at 7:30 and there's like 3 local openers, I'm going to be bummed because I do not want to be here all night long. I want to see the bands and get home at a reasonable hour. So on this tour, Jiluka is the headliner. And the opening bands are a band called TSS and a band called Victims. Now, I'd heard of Victims before, but I wasn't really familiar with them, and I had never heard of TSS before. So I get there right before 7:30, like 7:15, 7:20. Well, like 7:28, the lights go down and TSS comes out. I say lights go down, but Hangar 1819 has like these open areas, so it's still like daylight inside, which is kind of funny because TSS comes walking out and they're not Visual Kei like Jiluka, but they have on like a lot of leather and black, and it's kind of theatrical looking. I really enjoyed TSS. They appear to be pretty young. I believe they're from France. I'm not going to talk too much about them here because we're going to do a proper episode on them because I enjoyed what I saw, and then when I went and listened to their album, I thought, yeah, this would make for a good discussion. I think that there's a lot of interesting things going on with this band that I don't know. I think Danger will get a kick out of it, and I think it'll make for a good conversation. But let me just say, they were really good. I didn't know what to expect. I'd never heard them before, and I thought they did a really good job. Next up was a band called Victims. Now, I had heard of this band, and just due to just me consuming music, I know I have seen a music video or two. Not my thing. I was not impressed. They are very like sludgy, slow hardcore. Like they do some faster 2-step stuff as well, but there was no clean vocal. It was all screaming and just not really feeling it. What I did find interesting though was four members. Across the front, guitar, bass, and vocal. All 3 dudes are kind of big, burly guys with long hair. The guitar player was a real big guy, but they're headbanging, throwing down. Again, I didn't particularly like the vocalist's voice, but a lot of the people in the crowd seemed to be digging it, and but they're all wearing black, and the lead singer has these like fishnet sleeves. The drummer is this like petite little blonde girl, and she was wearing, I think it was a Los Angeles Chargers jersey that was like light blue and yellow, and she sat back there Okay, so I said they were kind of like slower and sludgy, but they had some fast stuff. They did some blast beats here or there. And I have never seen a drummer in my life look that nonchalant. I'm not sure if she was maybe not feeling well. I made the joke that maybe she was quitting the band and just going through the motions. But I mean, like literally doing a blast beat with the most like like it was like she was doing a shopping list in her head or something. It was wild because the rest of the band is throwing down and really into it. A little bit later she seemed to pep up again. Maybe she was sick or something, I don't know, but at one point she stood up and like started like talking to the crowd and stuff, and then near the end of the set they threw her the microphone and she like rapped a verse, which was kind of interesting. But just not my thing. I wasn't real impressed. I would be willing to like listen to a couple music videos or an album or something if maybe I missed something. But I thought TSS was interesting and pretty good, and then Victims felt a little bit. I've heard so many bands that sound just like that, and these guys weren't doing anything that like really made me go, oh wow, that's different, or that's really cool. I'm glad I caught that. So before I tell you about Jiluka, tell you a little bit about the crowd and the setup and stuff, and I thought this was kind of interesting. So Hangar 1819 is basically just one big square, and there is a sort of a back patio area where it's fenced in, but there's a little area to stand outside and smoke or whatever. They actually had the opening band's merch out there, and then Jiluka's stuff was up against like the side wall when you come in. And I thought that was really smart because it's not a huge venue. I actually looked it up. I think it holds around 500 at full capacity, maybe a little more. But and this show was not sold out, but I would say, a couple hundred at least. So it made sense to put the merch out there. It was a nice day. It wasn't super hot or no rain or anything, so it made sense. And what was also pretty cool was, I don't know about Victims, but I know TSS, they said after their set, like, we'll be out the merch table, come hang out, take pictures, whatever. And I went out there a couple times. I saw them talking to people, and there was a line of people to meet them and stuff. I thought that was cool. I don't know if Victims did that. I wasn't really paying attention at this point. I was just kind of ready for Jiluka to get going. And so they actually did. Everything was running on time, real smooth, no hiccups anywhere. Of course, I'm wearing a Jiluka shirt because I can't go to a concert and not buy merch. Just, it's a problem I have. And So everything's running on schedule, no problem. And right before Jiluka starts, I've never seen this at a concert before, and I actually really appreciated it. Before, like, they're playing some house music, and the tour guys are on stage hooking stuff up. They bring the house music down a little bit, and this voice comes on, and they're like, hey guys, thank you for coming to the tour, and we're so glad you're here. A couple of rules before the band starts. Please, no flash photography, no videography. It's distracting to the band. We want you guys to have a good time. No violence of any kind. We don't want you hurting each other. We just want you to have a good time. And I thought, wow, I've never heard this before, like before a show. And I was like, okay, cool. Speaking of which, to rewind a little bit, I don't go to a ton of huge festival shows, and honestly, I don't go to a ton of these shows either. I pick and choose kind of selectively because I'm old and poor. So I've heard of the Wall of Death. I've seen the Wall of Death, and I kind of thought the Wall of Death was sort of like a thing that you reserve for the height of your set. If you're a metal band, you do the Wall of Death to really put an exclamation point on the thing. I saw 5 Wall of Deaths between 3 bands. That's not right, is it? Like, that seems a little silly to me. Now, the first band did it once, and then Victims did it twice, and then Jiluka did it twice. But it was kind of funny to see it because, like I said, maybe 150, 200 people. I have no idea. Small venue, but it was not full, but it was probably, 70, 75% full. But the vast majority of these people were probably between like 15 and 30. A lot of really cool dress as well. I made a post on Facebook making a joke about how I was there to see Jiluka with about 100 anime characters. And it kind of had that vibe. Like, a lot of people would not have looked weird in like a Final Fantasy game or something. It was cool. I always like it when I feel like you can tell people are letting loose. Like, this is the day they get to let loose a little bit. Like, I saw one girl that was wearing like all white, and she had like fangs, and I couldn't tell if they were like dentures or what exactly. It's like, she might be a barista at Starbucks. She might be a real estate agent. But tonight at this show, she is this. And I think that's kind of cool. It was almost like, it was like Comic-Con at a concert in a weird way. And yeah, that's cool. Do it. I'm too old to be cool anymore, so I just stand in the back. I did wear a Baby Metal shirt because I thought that would help me fit in a little bit. But anyway, so the lights go out, and Jiluka comes out on stage, and they look great. They're completely like done up like they are in the music videos. I can only imagine how long it takes to do that. Like, it's wild. There's so much like makeup and face paint and piercings and stuff. Really cool. I was on the side of the stage with Cena, the guitar player. Crazy cool guitar. The guitar had these pink lights on it, and this like trail of lights that went all the way down the neck. And I think it was around the 12th fret. It goes from the top half of the neck board down to the bottom. So there's this like almost like a slash line in the middle of the guitar neck. It was really cool. It was real eye-catching. Another thing I really appreciate was I did not want to get down in the front. I don't need to be smushed up against 50 other people. I'm too old for that. All the bands have these like risers that they set on the front of the stage. My bands, we used to call them ego boxes, but you're basically just giving yourself an extra little thing to stand on and jump off of while you're playing. All the bands used it, but Jiluka spent a lot of time up there. And I actually really appreciated that, because standing in the back, I could see just everything. When they weren't on those boxes, I could still probably see 60% of their bodies. But when they stood up on that, it was like, hey, it's the whole person. And it was close enough that I could see everything and really enjoy it. And it was a lot of fun. The sound was a little bit... Okay. I don't like the parking situation there. Obviously, you do the best you can. It's kind of just a small little dirt parking lot in the back. And so my dad lives really close. So I just drove to my dad's house. He dropped me off. He came and picked me up. Another thing about the parking lot is some of the parking area is taken up because the bands have like tour buses and stuff. So there's already a handful of sections you can't even get to because they have their big buses and vans in the way. Where was I going with this? There's some about the parking that I was going to say. But anyway, so... Another thing that I totally understand, they do have a back patio area, so I get why, you can step outside, but they have a no re-entry policy that they're pretty strict on. So you do, like, you get a wristband, you come in, you kind of have to just stay in there. So, that was like, all right, that's cool, whatever. Let's see, what else was kind of fun. While they were playing, the sound... Okay. Oh, this is what I was going to say. So I was talking to my dad on the way back to my car, and I said, I know this is going to make me sound old, but hear me out. It's too loud. And he kind of laughed, and here's the point I was trying to make. Jiluka is they have a lot of techno and dubstep like mixed into their sound, and I think a lot of that's really cool. I like that. But they don't have like a synth player or a DJ. It's just the four, guitar, bass, drums, and vocal. And they play the tracks. Totally normal. Tons of bands do it. But there was this competition between the band and the tracks that didn't really get resolved until, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 minutes into their set, because it was sort of like every time there was supposed to be that lull where it like builds back up into like a heavy section, you would hear that like bassy feedback, like hum really loud, and it was a little distracting. And again, I feel like if the stage volume could come down and the track volume could come down, it would still, me personally, I think it would be better. It would be heavy and forceful, but you wouldn't have all that extra humming and distortion on top. So they eventually figured it out. I'm not exactly sure what they did, but it ended up sounding really good. They were great. They performed really well. My only critique of their performance was a lot of their songs have like screamed verses and then they'll do like a clean chorus. I could hear some of the clean vocal, but the lead singer was mostly screaming the choruses instead of singing them, and like the singing vocal was in the tracks. And again, because I like the melody parts a lot, I kind of wish they would have, he did sing a lot. Like there was a lot of singing. It wasn't like he just didn't sing anything. It was just a couple songs where I noticed where normally there would be a big clean vocal, it was being screamed instead. It was like, okay. Cena, the guitar player, also does some rap verses here or there. His mic was not up very loud, and the rap stuff was sort of hard to hear. I wish they would have, maybe been on top of that a little bit better. But yeah, so they played maybe 13, 14, 15 songs. They did do like an extended drum solo, which was fine. I'm not a big drum solo guy, but it sounded cool. And then they also when they came back, it was like 10:15 or so, and I was like, this thing is like wrapping up on time. And like I said, my dad was going to come swing by and grab me, so I texted him. I was like, I'm going to say 10:45. I was like spot on. They finished their set at like 10:42 or something like that. They did one of those things where they told the crowd to kind of get near the stage and took a picture from the drum set. And, they walked around the stage and kind of posed and threw out picks and sticks and stuff. And I kind of hung out in there for a second. And I was like, all right, this is cool. I take a step out into the parking lot, walk up to the street. Boom, my dad is right there. It was like impeccable timing. And yeah, the doors at 6:30. Show started right on time at 7:30. I was walking out the door right around 10:45. No complaints. It ran very smoothly. Big ups to everybody at Hangar 1819 for keeping the show running smoothly. I walked over to the bar and got a couple of Red Bulls throughout the night. It was real nice service. One of the best experiences I've had at Hangar 1819 in recent memory, as someone who has also been to shows there, played shows there. I felt like everything was really running smoothly. There was a couple of moments where the crowd, there was no fighting, there was nothing ugly about the crowd or anything. There was one or two moments where people got a little rowdy, and security was like keeping an eye on it, making sure it was a fun rowdy and not anything they need to be concerned with. Somebody did puke right in front of Jiluka's merch, which was a bummer. I don't know exactly when or how that happened. I was standing not that far from that area watching the show, and then at one point I just kind of looked over. I was like, puke, neat. Yeah, it was a pretty cool show. I had a lot of fun. One other thing, so when I was younger, a quote-unquote pit was a bunch of people kind of in the crowd jumping up and down, pushing each other a little bit or whatever. Apparently, that has been replaced with Wall of Death, where, if you don't know what that is, they separate the crowd and make everybody run at each other, which looks terribly dangerous when it's 20,000 people, looks kind of silly when it's like 100 people and only about 20 are doing it, which is what was happening at Hangar 1819. Again, bunch of young kids, a lot of like small girls, but they're just having fun. And so, they're running at each other and bouncing off of each other, and they're all smiling and laughing, which is cool. But the other thing they do a lot of now is run in a circle, and I actually caught a little video, and I'll post a video or a picture or two whenever I upload this. I'm not the type of person that goes to a concert and holds his phone up the entire time. I don't like that. I don't do that. So I just got a couple little things, but I'll share them. And but yeah, I got a good video of the singer of Jiluka literally like doing like spinning his finger around like, come on everybody, and got about 20, 25 kids to run in a circle for a little bit of a song. Cool. Have fun. I think I might prefer some of that to the I definitely prefer it to the goofy ass hardcore dancing where you like karate kick people. Can't stand that. Never was into that. So glad that's not really a thing anymore. I saw one dude trying to do that, but he was kind of like bouncing into people and they were laughing. Even he was laughing. So I think he was just kind of being silly. But yeah, I remember back in the day playing shows, and that was like a legit thing people did. I was like, please let this go away, and I'm glad it kind of has. But yeah, that was my experience. I had a lot of fun. If you've never heard TSS, check them out. If you've never heard Jiluka, I've brought them up a few times now. I really like them. They're very interesting. They're very talented. Victims, hey, if you like really brutal hardcore, then you might get something out of them that I didn't. But yeah, it was a fun show. I'm glad I went. Have you seen any of these bands live? Do you want to see any of these bands live? Let me know. And yeah, I hope you have a great day.